Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Systems and Workflow Magic podcast. I am your systems workflow BFF and guide, Dolly DeLong, and today we are in for a treat because I have Angie McPherson on the podcast today. So, hi, and I was going to say, if you, the listener, have been under a literal rock and you don't know who Angie is, you are going to fall in love with her because Angie is a branding photographer, a marketing strategist, and a hype woman for creatives. She photographs entrepreneurs, brands, and influencers throughout the country, providing custom imagery to elevate their brands. So Angie helps branding photographers build an impactful and profitable business through courses, through digital products, and through coaching. So even if you aren't a fellow photographer who wants to learn about branding photography, you are still going to get so much from this episode because Angie is going to be walking us through content repurposing and how to maximize your brand's reach. So you're going to want to listen in and take lots of notes. And so before we dive into the heart of this podcast, Angie, do you mind reintroducing yourself to my audience? I know I just gave a more formal introduction, but give my listeners a scoop about who you are, who you serve, and just overall why you're amazing.
Hi. Oh my gosh, you're so sweet. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
Yes, I'm Angie. I've been a photographer for 10 years this year. I actually started as a wedding photographer when I picked up my camera and pivoted into branding photography years ago. And I just love branding photography because before I became a photographer, I worked in marketing and PR. That is my jam. And so when I was ready to take my business to a different level as far as not working on nights and weekends, I was like, you know what? I can combine my photography skill and my marketing skill together and create this amazing branding photography business. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm traveling, around the country, photographing entrepreneurs, and I'm helping other photographers make the same transition that I did from any other type of photography, wedding photography, newborn, seniors, into branding photography. And it's so fun to just see the growth of really this niche in this industry.
I love it so much. And I've been enjoying just like watching you and your business from just getting to know you for the past year. And I wrote a note to let you know this. I am totally fangirling over you right now because I've been following you for, I think I was trying to think back. It's maybe I was introduced to you through Elizabeth McCravy's podcast.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
And I listened to you and I was like, wow, who is this Angie? So I started following you and slowly getting to know you. And that is I really admire you for multiple reasons. One, you're a photographer, you're a brand photographer. That's something that I myself am slowly growing into on the photography side of my business. Cause I don't know if you know this, I'm a family and branding photographer. And then I also wear the hat of systems and workflow educator. So I'm juggling 3 different things in my business. And I really love and admire that you're a mom and you're a really tough woman in my mind. You've been through a lot with your health journey and you still show up. You still show up and you're very consistent with how you show up for branding and photography education. So anyways, thank you for being on my little itty bitty podcast.
Oh, stop.
You're a really big deal. And I'm really so excited about having my audience learn just more about marketing because this is something that I see a lot of creative minded business owners struggle with, just not knowing how to market themselves consistently or develop a system for it. And so I'm excited to have somebody else on the podcast to preach to them about the importance of this.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Okay. So I don't know if you've listened much to the podcast episodes, but I like to just cut straight to the point of most things in life. I love treating my podcast episodes like strategy sessions or masterminds because I really want the listener to walk away with value and clarity with taking baby steps themselves in whatever they've learned about. So I take pride in just like really making sure that my listeners are listening to no fluff episodes. And
Yeah.
so when you said you wanted to talk about content repurposing and maximizing your brand's like outreach, I was like, yes, instantly, because this is a topic that I had hinted at before, that creative minded business. I'm not going to just say creative minded business owners. All business owners struggle
Right.
with, especially if they
Right.
don't have a team that is working with them and they don't have VAs that are helping them out. And also, when this goes live, we're going to be in quarter 4. And as we're gearing up for a new year, I'm hoping that perhaps like the listeners will take these strategies and run with them to impact the rest of quarter 4 and then hopefully the new year. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
Angie, this was a very long-winded introduction to you and your expertise. So let's dive in.
Yeah, yeah. So I love talking about repurposing content because so many people will take so much time to create that one, golden nugget of content. They'll post it, it'll either do really well, it could do okay, it could flop, and then that's it. They spend all that time and it's just sitting there. And I try to tell people you should be repurposing and reposting. Literally
Yeah.
two things. Repurposing every single piece of content and also reposting the same content. I always do this, I always recommend doing this by creating some sort of content database in your business where all your ideas go into one database. I personally use Notion. I've
Okay.
seen people use, Google Drive, Google Docs, Asana, any type of like task management.
Trello.
Yeah, Trello is
Yeah.
another great. I used to use Trello as well.
Yeah.
And having just a place to just list all of your ideas, so all of your topic ideas, and then actually going in and writing the content for multiple platforms within each topic. So, say you have a topic that's talking about, say you're a photographer, say you're a branding photographer, and you're telling people the different places that they can be using their branding photos. That is like a cornerstone piece of content. I always recommend getting maybe 10 to 15 cornerstone pieces of content that are really within your own content pillars in your business. Everyone should have their specific content pillars that they are, that's their zone of genius. They're an expert in. They are really helping their target audience. Having those, 4 or 5 pieces of, you know, um, just very zone of genius content under those pillars. And then within those pillars, writing specific posts. So for example, like I said, being a branding photographer, one of the cornerstone topics can be different places to use your branding photos. That can be an Instagram post. That can be a carousel post on Instagram. It could be an Instagram reel. It can be you hosting an Instagram live talking about this. It could be a series in your stories that you can move to your highlights. That is all just the different ways you can repurpose on Instagram. And I haven't even talked about
Yeah.
all the other platforms. You can also
Yeah.
put it on your Facebook business page. You can put it on, your LinkedIn. A lot of people sleep on LinkedIn, but if your audience is like corporate, team members, even entrepreneurs, LinkedIn can be a big deal. Pinterest, your blog, really think about the ways, the platforms that you can show up consistently in. So I'm not saying, okay, take this one piece of content and put it in 15 different places. Put it in those places that you can confidently show up consistently. That might be 3 places. That might be
Mhm.
Instagram, Facebook, and your email marketing platform. That might be Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. That might be your blog, email marketing, LinkedIn. Pick those, pick those platforms that you like to show up on, you're consistent on, and also your audience is there. You don't want to be showing up on platforms where nobody's there because you're literally wasting time.
Yeah.
So, starting with your topics, and then choosing your platforms that the topics will go on, and then within this content database, repurposing the copy. So your Instagram might be, a caption, a very short caption, and then when you put it to your blog post, it might be a 3 paragraph blog post with photos, with links across, linking to different parts of your website, with links linking out of your website, and then it's going to be a Pinterest vertical image that goes to that blog. So really pick those topics, those platforms. And in the content database, I like to put a block for the links. I need to know where this content went, where the links are. So I'll have the Instagram link, I'll have the blog post linked. If I put it on LinkedIn, I'll have that link. If I sent it in an email, I have the link to that. And this is really going to help you because like we were talking about, most people don't have a team. You
No.
want you want this database to be the hub so that if you do get to a point in business where you're bringing people into your team, you're giving them access and they can literally take that content and put it where it needs to go. You can
Mhm.
focus on the higher visionary products in your business, the projects in your business, and you can have a virtual assistant or a social media manager or an intern come through and say, okay, we're going to post 3 times on Instagram this week. Let me go to your database and pick a variation of different, content pillars, subtopics, and put that out there. But if you're just waking up every day and saying, what am I going to post on Instagram? What am
Yeah.
I going to post on Facebook? It's not sustainable and it's not going to be consistent for your audience when you're all over the place. When it comes to social media and all of that, it's really truly about connecting with people. And so I feel like when you have this database, you can go through and week by week, maybe adding 3 to 4 topics, maybe even filling it out. AI is crazy. Chat GPT is crazy. You can literally take your Instagram caption and put it into Chat GPT and say, make this a 3 paragraph long form SEO rich blog post. Here's
Yeah.
the keyword link, and it will literally go and write that for you. And you can go through, make tweaks, change anything you need to change, add photos, and there's your blog post. I feel
Yeah.
like content creation is just, I don't want to say easier than it was. I just think that we have more tools and resources than we used to. And a lot of people spend so much time in their day creating content, brainstorming content, when you can really just take some time per week and batch it. Maybe every Monday or Tuesday or whatever, you sit down, you take 1 hour and you come up with 3 cornerstone pieces of content and you repurpose it in 4 different ways and then you put it into your calendar, literally stick it to your calendar. So I also do this in Notion. I do all my content planning in Notion, but I remember when I first started content planning like 10 years ago, when I first picked up my camera, I was just using a Google Calendar. I was putting in the Google Calendar when I was going to be posting things, and then it went to Asana. That's what I used, and now I've settled on Trello because it's just very like content rich. It lets you put a lot of
Mhm.
links, a lot of color coding.
Yes.
It's an app. Do you use Trello?
I do. I love
Yeah,
Trello so much. I
yeah,
use it for everything, and I know, like, there are people who have, like, such strong feelings about Trello, and I'm like, "Just calm down." Like, it's just a project management tool, but,
yeah, yeah,
I love that you mentioned, just, like, starting out with some sort of system. Like, 10
yeah,
years ago, you just started out using your Google Calendar, and you just did it, and so
yeah.
that
Mhm.
is the beauty. Like, again, a reminder to all my folks who are listening in, the beauty of systems is not that you have to dive in and understand all the tech setup and automations and workflows and SOPs, like, instantly. It's the beauty is, like, taking that first step and developing a system that works for you, and so if that means opening up a Google Doc
Yeah,
and brain dumping an idea out and then organizing it around that Google Doc, then do it.
exactly.
Then do it.
Yeah. Having the brain dump. Sometimes I'll
Yeah.
have ideas that come while I'm driving or while I'm in the shower or
Yes.
while I'm eating dinner, and I'm like, "Okay, what can I open?" And I'll open Notion. I don't even know if did I say Notion or Trello a couple minutes ago? I can't
You
remember.
said Trello, but you
Okay.
also mentioned Notion,
I
and
only use
so
Notion. I don't know why I said Trello. I
oh,
used to use
maybe
Trello.
it's because I mentioned Trello,
Yeah,
but
I think
I've
yeah.
I've heard a lot of good things about Notion, which,
Yeah,
of course, I'm like, I need to use Notion, so I'm, like, trying to set aside at least once a week or once every other week to learn a new system, and so
yeah.
that's been on my horizon of learning.
Yeah, and Notion is free, and there's
Mhm.
a desktop app, there's an app for
Mhm.
your phone, and so really, it really doesn't even matter the platform that you use, just use
Mhm. Use
something,
it.
just use
Yes.
something. Some people are like, "I don't like tech, I wanna write everything." That's fine. Get a
Yeah.
calendar, get a planner, that you can, put across your desk and write things in, but just find some sort of system that works for you
Mhm.
and have those columns and rows. So, content pillars, those 4 to 5 topics that you'll be talking about. And then within each of those pillars, what topics are you going to be talking about? What blog titles, what email subject lines, what Instagram, overlaying captions. What are those pieces of content? And then
Mhm.
within each one, repurposing on a couple of different platforms, and reformatting for that specific platform. You don't want to just put your Instagram caption in a blog post. You don't want to put your 5 sentence Instagram caption in a blog post. You want to make
Yeah.
it an actual blog post that is formatted for that platform. And another thing is reposting. Do not be afraid to literally repost the same content, 6, 8, 12 months later. We went to California for a month this summer. And I told myself, I don't want to work. I don't want to come up with ideas. And so while I was there, I was literally reposting content, really, literally reposting reels that I had posted, over 6 weeks prior. And some of them had more engagement, had more
Mhm.
activity, more shares. Some of them brought me in more inquiries than, the original post six
That's
months ago.
wonderful.
And you have to think your audience changes month to
Mhm.
month. So even though you posted something that may have flopped 6 months ago, you have more followers, you have more engaged followers, you have different followers, you have, people who in 6 months prior, they weren't in a position to really receive that content. And now they're in a different position where you're blowing their mind. So don't be afraid to just literally repost same video, same caption, and send it out because you are really going to maximize your reach. And you've
Mhm.
spent all that time creating that content. Don't just post it and then let it go. Repurpose, repost, one or the other.
I love that. I've never really thought about reposting my old reels.
Mhm.
Like, that is such a good idea.
Yeah, I love to do it. And sometimes the same people who commented on the reel 6 months ago will comment again like they'd never seen it before.
Yeah.
Or they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, I love when you share this. I'm just giving you lots of love." So I
Yeah.
started to see I'm on TikTok as a consumer. I don't really create much, and I love it. I'm obsessed with TikTok. And I started to see some people, like influencers who are showing off their outfits or like linking to different home decor. They would repost the exact same thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, why don't I repost my educational stuff, my
Yeah.
client photos, all my valuable content? Because 6 months ago, like I said, some people haven't seen it or they just need to be reminded. So many people need to see things 6, 7 times before they decide to inquire or make a sale. So,
Yeah, and some people nowadays need, like, to see things 77 times before
yeah.
they do anything about
Exactly.
anything. So,
Exactly.
I love that you're giving us, like, permission to, "Hey, you can repurpose and
Right.
repost," and,
Yeah.
people probably aren't going to think about it as deeply as you are, like, 'cause, as a reminder to everyone, like, we are all always, as humans, just thinking about ourselves, like,
Exactly.
we're not too worried about what's going on with XYZ, we're mostly worried about ourselves, so
People are literally scrolling
yes,
really quickly or they're going through their email really quickly. They're not going to be like, oh my gosh, Dolly just reposted something
yes,
from 6 months ago. They're going to be like, oh, cool, double tap or let
yes,
me comment or they're going to keep moving. So don't worry
ex
about anybody.
exactly, exactly, so get out of that mindset if you
Mhm.
need to right now, like, about overthinking, over worrying about sharing the same content because, like Angie is reminding us, like, people need multiple, like, I guess, like, again, that 77
Yeah.
impressions, like, to be
Yeah.
reminded to take that next action step. So I was actually going to peel it back another layer and ask you, so these cornerstone or pillar content pieces, I call them, I refer to them as like either video, like YouTube, or podcasting or blogging. Like, that's when I think of pillar content, that's what I think of. Is
Mhm.
that what you're referring to?
I would refer those what you mentioned as the platforms.
Okay.
When I'm talking about content pillars. I'm talking about where your zone of genius lies in your business that you can share with your audience. So for example, one of my content pillars is marketing strategy.
Mhm.
So as a branding photographer, so here are a couple of my content pillars. Branding photography, of course. So that's one of my biggest content pillars. So I'm sharing planning tips and I'm talking to entrepreneurs. Those are my ideal clients. So I'm writing content about branding photography and how it is a huge return on investment in your business, how they can plan their shoots, how they can use the photos, how the photos can go across different platforms. That's one of my content pillars. And those are some of my subtopics under it. Another one, like I said, is marketing strategy. So not only am I a photographer, I'm a marketing strategist. So I can be talking about increasing visibility, generating leads, content planning, like I'm talking about today, launching. I'm a course creator, so I can talk about launching. Another one of my content pillars is entrepreneurial growth. So I'm talking about quarterly business planning, my favorite business tools to use, what my workflow is, outsourcing, automating, delegating, things like that. That's under my content pillar of entrepreneurial growth. And then another one is, of course, branding photography education, because I do have, services and offers for branding photographers to really learn from me and become a better branding photographer, book more clients. And so I talk about, under branding photography education, the subtopics are, pivoting into branding photography, client experience, having efficient workflows and processes, tips and tricks, equipment, tools to use as a photographer. And then the last one of my content pillars is inspiration and empowerment. And so that is talking about, my family, travel, personal growth, self-care, anything in my health journey, and also just fun, relatable, entertaining content that all, goes under like that inspiration and empowerment. So those are my 5 content pillars. So once again, for those listening, branding photography for entrepreneurs, marketing strategy, entrepreneurial growth, branding photography education for photographers, and then inspiration and empowerment. So I just always recommend people to sit in. When I look at that, those are my zone of genius.
Mhm.
Those are my superpowers. Those, I can talk about those for days on end. So before you even create this content database, I recommend choosing your 5 content pillars and then writing within each pillar 5 to 7 key pieces of content, 5 to 7 topics. What are people frequently asking you? What are your FAQs? What are people, what is your audience really struggling with? So for example, marketing strategy, a lot of entrepreneurs are struggling with increasing visibility and getting them, getting themselves out there and getting more views on, their reels or their emails or their blog posts. And so that's a pain point. So my answer to that pain point is how I can help them increase visibility, repurposing content, generating leads. And so when you're thinking about those subtopics, think about the pain points, think about the frequently asked questions. And once you have all of that, then it's literally just plug and play to your content database, repurpose across platforms, and repost.
I love that. I love that you pointed out that you have subtopics
Mhm.
within or underneath your pillars. Like
Yeah.
that was a really good way of describing that. And listener, I really hope you take advantage of like taking the time out today, set a timer for 45 minutes and literally map out what your zone of genius is at or zones of genius
Yeah,
is
for
at.
sure.
Um, I mean, like, I'll share my example is like, you all know I am a photographer and a systems and workflow educator. So, based off of this, like, my content pillars would be family photography,
Yep,
and then the second would be branding photography,
yep.
and then the
Mhm.
third would be systems and workflow education for creatives. And then I would have subtopics below each of those content pillars. So, it's just like, again, it's just like taking the time to map this out, putting it in a project management tool of your choice,
Mhm.
and starting from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so Angie, where are you? Like I know you shared your content pillars, but what platforms are you using, like to
Yeah.
share these content pillars?
So my biggest one is Instagram. I
Okay,
love the gram. That usually I will start writing captions and content for Instagram and then I'll repurpose those for email, for a blog or whatever. So Instagram is my jam. Also email marketing. I love email marketing because there's no algorithm. It's
yeah,
literally someone's going to open it or they won't open it. I don't have to
yeah.
fight with the algorithm. I don't have to worry about hashtags. I just provide really good content and visuals and send it out. So I love email marketing. Another one is blogging. Blogging is
Mhm.
just so amazing for SEO, search engine optimization, especially when you're, trying to book local clients. Blogging can be huge for people who are searching for a local XYZ, whatever you are.
Yes.
And then those are my top three. Facebook, nah, here and there, I'll post to it. And sometimes I get really consistent, and there's literally like no, the Facebook algorithm with business pages is crazy. It's like
It's yeah.
literally zero views. So like I said, I pick just a few places where I know my audience is and
Mhm.
where I love to show up and be consistent. And for me, that is Instagram, email marketing, and blogging.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So when you like, let's go back to you made a comment you went to California for a month with your
Mhm.
family, which I
Yeah.
loved that you did that. Um, did you plan ahead of time? Like, okay, I'm gonna batch all of this out, or I'm just gonna repurpose all of this out like ahead of time, or did you do it on the fly every single day?
I had planned to plan it out, but I'm gonna be honest, I did
Yeah.
not.
Okay. I was just like curious what that looked like for you.
But the fact of the matter is that I had so much content. Like I had content, I had
Mhm.
things in the queue, things that I knew I could post, things that could be repurposed. I didn't plug anything in a calendar.
Mhm.
That would have been the best idea, but I knew, hey, I literally have things to post. So like we were there for 4 weeks, and in the beginning of each week, I'm like, okay, what 3 to 4 posts can I get up this week? And I would just go ahead and get them ready and then post them. So I didn't have a whole month planned out, but I was planning out week by week based on the content that I had backlogged already.
Gotcha. And did you what this is just like a personal question. What did you guys do in California?
Oh my gosh. First of all, Orange County is the best place for a family vacation. There was
Really?
literally so much to do. We went to all the beaches, like all across Orange County, up
Yeah.
to LA, down to San Diego. Disneyland. I have two boys, age 3 and at the time 8 years old. So we went to Disneyland.
Yeah.
And what else did we do? Zoos, museums, just so much to do literally every day. And that was in, gosh, June, July. So it's been a few
Mhm.
months. And literally every other day they're begging to go back.
I bet they are. Do you have family that lives there, or you just decided we're gonna live in California for a month?
No, we had just decided a couple months ago. I've always wanted to stay somewhere for 30 days and
Mhm.
put groceries in the fridge and clothes in the drawers. Like I've always wanted to do that. And COVID happened and then cancer happened. That's a whole other story. And so
Yeah.
this I was like, we're gonna do it. We're gonna
Yeah.
do it. And after we'd made the decision and booked everything, my big sister actually moved to LA, which is about an hour north from where we were in Orange County.
Yeah.
She actually moved there, and so she was able to come, stay with us for a couple days, and we hung out with
Hi.
her. So it was awesome to have, actual family that was within arm's reach. And I also have a cousin there, and she came and hung out. And then my other sister came and hung out. So it was funny. We had this little 3 bedroom house,
Mhm.
and my parents came for a couple days. My sisters came for a couple days. So like we were constantly getting people coming to stay with us, and then we had our own time. So it was really
I
fun.
love that. So my husband and I, we have 2 boys as well. They're around, age 5, and Jack is gonna be 1 this year. So it's
Yeah.
like kinda like the same similar, like, age difference of
Uh-huh.
4
Uh-huh.
boys. And we decided when I was pregnant with Jack in 2022, we were gonna live in Montana for a
Oh
full
wow.
month, and that's where I grew up, but I don't have any family left there. I just love Montana. I miss it.
Yeah.
I wish we could move back all the time, but, so we lived there for a whole month in August,
Wow.
and it was incredible, and, yeah,
What's the
my
weather
son
like there in
is
August?
it's perfect. That's what it's just perfect. We live in Nashville, and I consider it the South, and
Yeah.
you I don't know how you feel about weather, but I am very like, I do not like hot and muggy and humid,
Mhm.
and this is where this where I live, hot, muggy,
Uh-huh.
humid, and Montana does not have humidity, and it's just like 70s and 80s in the summer with no humidity, and it's
Yeah.
just heavenly. It's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, I'm in Virginia, so I feel like we get that same mugginess
Yes.
in the summertime. But when we were in California in June, July, the weather was just perfect.
Perfect. Yes.
75, no humidity, and we flew home July 19th. We
Oh my
landed at
gosh.
8 o'clock at night, and we
You
got out of the
feel it. I
car.
bet you could feel
Oh
it
my gosh,
when you
it
got
takes
yes,
your breath away. It
yes.
was like 100
Not in the
degrees.
best sense, not in the "Take My Breath Away" song by
Yeah,
whoever.
and my
This is
kids were
like
so
yeah,
spoiled with California
yeah.
weather, and the rest of the summer in Virginia, they did not wanna play outside. Like, it's too hot.
Yes, yes. So, okay, well, I'm so glad thank you for letting me, like, veer off and ask you that.
Yeah.
I just was curious because I remember I'm on your email list, and I remember you talking about that,
Uh-huh,
and I was like,
uh-huh.
"Oh, I hope it was a fun trip," or I'm just curious how it went, so thanks for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so okay, I'm actually gonna ask a question based off of that. So, as a business owner, like if you've reflected at all about your experience taking a month off and doing something fun with your family and being more intentional on that side of your life, what did your business experience during that month off, like even if you were repurposing, let's like tie in repurposing content, like
Mhm.
did you track anything, did you notice anything, did your what were the benefits?
Yeah.
I'll let you take it from there.
I love that you asked this because I literally was in my content database the other day and I was like, ooh, topic idea. What I learned from my 30-day sabbatical.
Oh,
So I haven't written anything yet. So this will be a
yes.
great brainstorm session.
Okay, good. Yes, let's do it.
A lot of things changed. It changed me as a business owner. I took the trip because I'm an Enneagram 3 and type A personality. I
Mhm.
love to work. You have to pry my laptop from my hands.
Yeah.
I love to work. If my kids aren't around, if they are around, then I'm, 100%,
With
mom. But
them, yes, yeah.
and so I wanted to give myself permission to take a little bit of a break and also let that inspire me more. I feel like the more that we are working on and in our business, the less that we are just like letting things naturally inspire us.
Yeah.
So when I was there, I think I only opened my laptop twice. I opened it once because I did branding mini sessions while I was there.
I remember seeing that email.
Yeah, yeah, and then so I opened it to, like, edit the photos and deliver the photos, and so just taking that time off really helped me to come up with new offers and products. I launched group coaching this fall, and that really came from just taking that time off and having time to dream a little bit while I
Mhm.
was there. I also got to photograph while I was there. I did one day. I told myself I wasn't going to work, and I was like, I'm going to do one day of branding mini sessions because how often do I get to photograph in
In
California?
California,
Hello?
yeah.
And so, I was there, and so I got a ton of content while I was there that I can still use. Now, the next time I'm going to California, or if I want to travel more, I can use all that content and say, I love photographing in California. Look at the previous branding shoots that I did there.
Yeah.
And so, getting fresh content was really, really fun. I feel like a lot of the time my stories, I'm in my office, I'm walking down the street. So it's fun to be in a different atmosphere and show people a little bit of a different side of me. It was also a great time to I love like sharing personal things. And
Mhm.
that whole month, everything was personal. I mean, going to the beach, going to Disneyland, going to the YMCA and dropping my kids off at the kids camp so I can get 10 minutes of a break. Like
Yeah,
just sharing that really helped me to connect with
mhm.
mompreneurs who need a break, who need to set their business up so that they can have time off in their business. So that helped create new conversations surrounding that. It also helped me to dial it back. So when I came back and my kids went back to school, I placed a few boundaries in my business. One of them is no meeting Mondays and just making Mondays my CEO day because when I came back I was looking at my business didn't fall apart. I took a month off. My business didn't fall apart. So how can I structure my week where I'm putting a little bit of that self-care, a little bit of that, quietness into my week. So Monday, I usually will used to host calls on Monday, and then it would make my Tuesday feel like Monday because that's the first time I'm actually in the office. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I only have a couple days to work. So
Yeah.
now it's no meeting Mondays. which has been amazing. I'm working on, content planning, working on planning out the week, looking at my income and my expenses and really projecting revenue. And then another thing I've implemented in my business is casual Fridays. And so even though I'm hustling and working on Monday, I'm taking those meetings Tuesday through Thursday. And then Friday, I put nothing on the agenda. No meeting, no work or anything. It's just a bonus. If I have to work, that's fine, but I'm not working, hardcore on a Friday because by that time I'm already tapped out anyway. And
Yes.
so I feel like taking that month off, it gave me the inspiration to be more of a visionary
Mhm.
in my business. And so I hired a virtual assistant. And so a lot of these tasks that I was doing on Mondays and Tuesday through Thursdays, I'm passing over to her so that I can work on more high level projects, actually creating that cornerstone content.
Mhm.
She's repurposing it for me, and then I'm posting it. So we're coming up with a flow of how to get work done. And it'll also help me to, focus more on my group coaching and my courses with my students. So I was like, what in the world could I just completely pass to somebody else?
I
So
love that.
that really helped. I haven't had a VA before her in over maybe like 6 to 8 months. And so I felt like going to California for a month and really seeing what needed to be done and what I
Mhm.
really didn't need to do myself, it helped me to pass those tasks over to her.
Now I'm gonna get even deeper, and you're gonna be like, "Dolly, no, don't ask me this." But what about your spouse? Like,
Mhm.
what did he have any observations from you taking a step back and, like, your business was still
Yeah,
moved on, still grew, and, like, what did he have to say about you taking a step back?
yeah. That's a great question. He definitely thinks I work less now. I mean, we have been together for 19 years.
Wow.
Yeah, almost 20 years. And I
Congratulations, by the
oh, thank
way.
you.
That's a testament right there.
Thank you. I remember when he proposed, the
Mhm.
words that he used, he's like, "You're so driven." And I don't remember anything else from what he said. That's all I remember, and I was like, "Hmm, yeah, yeah."
Yes,
Like, that
I
is
am.
the biggest compliment. And so that's what he sees through his eyes. I'm
Mhm.
always hustling, on the go, work, work, work. What's the next big idea? How can we help people? And so for me to even I remember when I told him I wanted to take a month off, and honestly, he works a 9 to 5. He couldn't even come the whole month. He came for like 6 or 7 days. So it was mostly me and the kids
Oh,
for the
wow.
month.
Okay, yeah.
And so when I sat across, we went to dinner and I sat across him and I told him I wanted to do. His eyes were like
What?
what? You're gonna take off that long just
Wow.
you and
Yeah.
the kids and another literally coast to coast. We're in Virginia. We went to California, and so he's definitely seen a shift in how I work, how often I work. I'm better about closing the laptop when the kids get home from school. I'm better about, not working on the weekends. So yeah, it's definitely been a shift. And like I said, when you make that shift to not be in the hustle all the
Mhm.
time, like there are seasons of hustle,
Oh,
there are
yes.
seasons, but when you get off that hamster wheel, it's just everything is a little bit sweeter.
Well, thanks for letting me ask a very personal question.
Yeah,
I'm just, like,
absolutely.
very curious because, like, I want to stress to the listeners, like, you have to keep in mind the season you've entered
Mhm.
in your new business. You might be in year 1, year 2, year 3. You might be in the messy middle of figuring
Yeah.
like, honing in on your specialty. You might be a very seasoned business owner, but either way, just keep in mind, like, your business not only affects you, but it
Mm,
affects your loved ones, like, your children, your
yeah,
spouse, your partner, your
totally.
just whoever's in your life, it affects them. And so this is why like every single week I show up to showcase like different systems and workflows to better help the back end of your business because then it will impact these people in your life. And like
Right.
Angie, like what she's sharing with us, like these marketing strategies and
Mm.
systems will impact your not only your business but also your life. And it takes baby steps and it takes you like taking the time
It does.
to
It really
incorporate
does.
this. But I'm like so impressed and I'm so
Thank you.
happy you had that you had that month for yourself in California, and I like bet anything now it's probably lit a fire in you, and
My
most
gosh,
likely
I want to do it again.
yeah, I bet I'm gonna see that again. Like, I'm totally calling it. I'm totally calling you taking not 1 month, but 2 separate
Oh my
months off.
gosh.
I'm calling it. I'm calling it.
Well, I think we want to do it again, not next year because we have a big family vacation next year,
Yeah.
but in 2025, I'm like, let's go to Hawaii
I
or
knew it. I was like, I bet you anything it's gonna be, like, somewhere else.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh. That was my original plan until I saw how expensive
Yeah.
it was
You can save
because
up for it now.
my husband is actually Hawaiian. His mom is Hawaiian.
Oh.
She grew up there. And so that was our original plan. I was like, okay,
Mhm.
let's give ourselves a couple of years. But now I'm like, all right, we've got 2 years. Let's just keep chipping away at,
Yes.
the savings account for that trip because it's expensive. But honestly, I don't think it's much more expensive than Orange County, California,
I
because
believe it. I
that's
believe
an
it.
expensive place.
Yeah. And also like I've never like I've only voiced this to my husband Ty, but I'm trying to save up. I use a Southwest business credit card for
Me
like all
too.
my
I do too.
business
Yeah.
transactions. And so I told him this like a year ago. I'm like, I'm saving up for us to go to Hawaii, like for free. Like
Yeah.
obviously it wouldn't be free like on the back end, but to get
Right.
there and back. And so, yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Hawaii because I'm like, I want to take Ty to Hawaii on my
Oh,
business. Yeah.
so, yeah, on the business. That'd be
Yeah.
so fun. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I will be rooting for that to happen for you.
Thanks. And I'm rooting for you too.
Thank you. Well, it'd be so cool if it was at the same time.
Oh my gosh, we
I
can
know.
trade photos.
I know. Awesome. Well, Angie, thank you so much. And as we wrap up, I want to ask you like where if people have been listening in and you're like I have to have more Angie in my life. So, Angie, where can people find you, connect with you, and like all the things? Just get to know you.
Definitely Instagram. That is my jam. That's where I show up every day. And my Instagram is Angie Janine. So that's my
Hmm.
middle name, Janine. And then my website, angiemcpherson.com. They can connect with me there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And
Yeah.
listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, if you've made it this far in this episode, that means like you probably enjoyed this episode. You've been learning a
Yeah.
lot, you've been taking notes. And so I want to ask you the biggest favor. Do you mind leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing this with your friends and business friends who you believe need help with systems and workflows for the back end of their business? And it would seriously mean the world to me. And it would also mean the world if you also liked and subscribed on the YouTube channel as well. So if you would rather learn via video, please follow me there. So until then, have an extremely streamlined and magical week. You amazing muggle you. I will talk to you all next week for another incredible Systems and Workflow Magic podcast episode. So until then, bye.